thunder of jets in an open sky, a streak of gray, and a cheerful...
A loop, a whirl, and a vertical climb, and once again you'll know it's time for the adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends.
Starring that supersonic speedster, Rocket J. Squirrel, with his pal Bullwinkle the Moose, and a host of others.
Hurry, Bullwinkle! The show's about to start!
I'm coming as fast as I can.
Wave to the people!
Yay!
Now what are you doing?
Signing autographs. Let's see. John Smith.
But your name is Bullwinkle.
I know, but that's hard to spell.
We're gonna have a lot of fun. Come on and join us.
Sure, there's always room for one more.
Well, on the tiny island of New Greenpernt, Rocky and Bullwinkle have finally had a grand reunion, thanks to a plan of Captain Peachfuzz's, which, of course, turned out the wrong way. Now they're all tied tightly and at the mercy of King Bushwick the 33rd.
33rd.
33rd. Our friends are guests of honor at a New Greenpernt block party.
Only question is who goes to the block first?
But why execute us?
Because your friends are his.
Well, what did Bullwinkle do?
Nothing, that's what I did.
That's just it. He was our substitute wizard, see?
Bullwinkle, a wizard?
On account of my weather forecasting bunion, Rocky.
But as a substitute for an Ogle boy, he's a terrible flop. And our law says there's only one punishment for a wizard who don't whiz.
Bullwinkle was substitute for an Ogle bird?
Of course.
And Bushwick told Rocky and the captain about the legendary Ogle bird who sat on a mountaintop and laid eggs containing fantastic predictions.
Los Angeles is full of sorrow. Dodgers lose again tomorrow.
What happened to the Ogle bird?
It was stolen. Okay, Peruna, let's get going.
Now, wait!
And remember, keep your left arm straight and a back swing.
Hey!
That'll correct your tendency to slice.
Hey, Your Majesty, if we could find your Ogle bird, would you let us go?
Of course, naturally, but how are you going to do that?
Just follow the tracks.
Tracks? What tracks?
Those tracks.
Yes, the sharp-eyed squirrel had spotted some strange-looking tracks on the beach, but Bushwick didn't seem to care, for he turned to the headsman and said...
Okay, Peruna, like swing.
And as our friends cowered in mortal fear, the headsman swung his mighty blade...
Are you all right, Bullwinkle?
So far, yeah, but I'm kind of scared to nod my head.
Well, what are you guys waiting for? Come on.
Yes, the headsman's stroke had been intended merely to cut their bonds, and in a moment our friends were on the beach staring at the strange tracks.
As far as I can figure, these are the tracks of 2 Ogle birds, Your Majesty.
2? Impossible, Jack.
Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky. There's only one Ogle bird in the world.
I don't care. There's 2 sets of tracks, and they lead right to the water's edge.
Oh, the poor bird.
What's the matter?
Ogles can't swim. It's a goner. Well, back to the steak, you guys.
Wait a minute. Maybe the Ogle was bird-napped.
Bird nap? What, by another Ogle bird?
No, bird-napped by somebody disguised as another Ogle bird. Somebody who would use his fortune-telling powers for evil purposes.
Oh, come now, little friend. There's nobody in the world that nasty.
Little does King Bushwick know, for at that moment, high atop an island far away, the Ogle bird is chained to a nest, forced to turn out predictions for his captor. And who is the fiend responsible for all this? Who is the low-down no-goodnik who could carry out such a dastardly scheme?
Hello again, crime fans everywhere.
It is Boris Badenov, world's meanest villain.
Plus, at no additional charge, my partner in crime, Natasha Fatal. What does Lady Ogle says, Natasha?
Oh, Boris, this is terrible.
So read already.
The Ogle bird says, "Happy day, Rocky Squirrel is on the way."
Raskolnikov. Is nowhere in whole world we don't run into that busybody?
Where we go now, darling?
Go. Bah. Don't be silly, Natasha. We stay and give Squirrel royal welcome.
Royal welcome.
21 guns.
And pressing a button, Boris unmasked a battery of cannons, all pointing out to sea and right at our approaching heroes. Don't miss our next exciting episode, Bullwinkle's Landing or Muscle Beach.
Once upon a time, there was a magnificent golden castle on a silver cloud high up in the sky, which has nothing to do with it because our story is about an old woodchopper who lived in a shack. But it's a good way to start a fairy tale. The old man was very happy, but he had a daughter who was very unhappy because, well, she was rather plain.
Yes, plain ugly.
Papa says I've got a face like 5 miles of bad road.
Right.
It was time for her to marry, but because she was so fat and ugly, none of the young men of the kingdom ever came to ask for her hand. She was terribly lonely. Then one day the old man said to her,
Child, today is your birthday, and I've brought you something to keep you from being so lonely.
A man?
No, a mule.
Now, a mule wasn't exactly the kind of a companion she had in mind, but at least it was somebody to talk to.
Silly beast. I wonder if you were once a handsome prince changed into a mule by a wicked witch. If so, I could break the spell with a kiss.
But it was no use. The mule was a mule and always had been a mule. Then early one morning, the old man instructed his daughter to take a bundle of sticks into the village.
A bundle of sticks? What for?
How should I know? But somebody's always carrying a bundle of sticks around in fairy tales. You know that.
So the young girl took the bundle of sticks and decided to ride her mule into the village, and then a very strange thing happened. Unknown to her, the moment she climbed onto the mule's back, she changed into a beautiful maiden. When she reached the village, she could hardly believe her eyes, for a handsome young prince rode up to her on a snow-white horse and exclaimed,
Ah, fair lady, you are truly the most lovely beauty in the land.
The young girl looked him in the eye and said,
What's the matter? You nuts or something?
With your permission, I should like to call upon you tonight, say 8 o'clock.
Flushed with excitement, she raced for home. But when she arrived and stepped off of her mule, she immediately returned to her fat little ugly self. That night, promptly at 8, the prince, sitting astride his white charger, knocked at the door.
Hello?
Is your sister home?
I don't have a sister. I live here alone with my father.
Oh, I must have the wrong house. Bye.
The poor girl was broken-hearted and couldn't figure out what had gone wrong. The following day, her father again asked her to go into the village, but this time to pick up a bundle of sticks.
It'll take your mind off all that ugly.
No sooner had she climbed upon her mule's back again than once again she was changed into a beautiful maiden. On her way to the village, she chanced to pass a clear, still pool of water. Looking into which, she saw her reflection and was shocked to see that she was now so very beautiful. She hopped off her mule for a closer look, and instantly she changed back into her former ugly self. And then she suddenly realized what had happened.
I get it now. This is a magic mule. As long as I sit on this beast, I'm a beauty.
She jumped back onto the mule, and the beauty and the beast dashed off to find the prince. When the prince saw her coming, he rode up to her on his gallant steed and said,
Ah, lovely beauty, I found you again. Please say that you'll be mine so that we may be married.
Yes, but on one condition, that I remain on my mule at all times.
So be it, my love. And so that we start off on the right foot, I shall stay on my horse as long as you stay on your mule.
And thus they were married. As the years went by, the young girl was very happy, but having to sit on her mule day and night did pose quite a problem. She had to sleep in a special bed, bathe in a special tub, and eat at a special table. True to his word, the prince also stayed on his horse, and he was a good husband. Every Saturday night he took her dancing at the palace, where they were the most striking couple on the floor. Then one day, as she rode in the garden...
Oops! The wind blew my new bonnet off.
Not stopping to think, she hopped off of her mule to get the bonnet and she immediately became ugly again.
Oh, good heavens, what have I done? I've got to get back on that silly mule before...
But it was too late, for just then the prince rode up.
Pardon me, old hag, but have you seen my wife? Wait a minute. This is her mule.
Yes, and I am your wife.
Realizing that she was trapped, the girl sadly confessed the whole story to her husband. But instead of being angry, he did an amazing thing.
Yahoo! Yippee!
I don't get it. Are you happy to find out that I'm really ugly?
Oh, no. I'm happy to know that I can finally get off this blasted horse. You see, I'm only a handsome prince when I stay on him.
With that, the prince hopped off his horse and...
You see? I'm as ugly as you are.
Eesh, uglier.
We were meant for each other.
Darling.
Sweetheart. And just think, no more saddle sores.
And so they were able to live happily ever after, which only goes to prove that a mule and his honey are soon parted.
And now, here to tell us how to better live our lives is Mr. Know-It-All.
Hello, lovers of the good life. Today we are going to learn how to avoid tipping the waiter.
Check is $3.29. 15% tip is customary.
Keep a sharp eye now and you will learn to save a fortune. Waiter, heavens to Betsy Ross. There's a live fly in my dessert. I refuse to tip.
Fly is no longer alive. $3.29. Please expect larger tip additional effort.
Which brings us to the fainting method, operating on the simple premise that when you faint, someone will carry you outside for fresh air. Once outside, you're safe. You just leave the money for the check. Oh, waiter. Oh, I'm feeling lightheaded. Oh! This stuff's too good for a show like this. I'm faint. Shh. Something must have gone wrong.
$3.29 plus flowers comes now to $4.74, expecting much bigger tip.
Then there's the disguise method.
Hey, you moose.
There must be some mistake, waiter. I'm the lady that was sitting by the window. The moose left.
Fine. Lady, your check was $23.68. Tip naturally runs around $5 for even cheapskate.
But I haven't got more than $5 altogether.
Gee, Mr. Know-It-All, you did it. You succeeded in not tipping the waiter.
Yeah, and at $2 a day, I'll have the bill and the tip paid in just a little more than 3 weeks. A month? 6 months? Oh, well, they're closed on Christmas.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
Wrong hat.
I take a 7.5.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Canada was going through one of the hottest summers in her history, and tempers were short. To make matters worse, Inspector Fenwick was in hot water with his commander.
Yes, Commander. No, Commander. Yes, sir, Commander. We'll certainly do what we can, sir. Goodbye.
Hot enough for you, Inspector?
Don't you ever knock, do right? I'm tired of you sneaking in on me like that. Now go outside and knock. Come in. Come in, confounded.
I can't, Inspector. The door is locked.
Do right, you get in here on the double. I need you.
But the door, Inspector.
Well, confound it, Dudley. Fake it.
Yes, sir.
Now, the reason I sent for you, Dudley, is that the commander called and he's as mad as a hornet because we haven't done anything about Snidely Whiplash.
I am bored, Father.
And unless we do something about Snidely, the commander is thinking of replacing all of us with a private eye.
Bored.
Well, blast it, daughter. Why don't you take up knitting?
Why don't you take up knitting? Why don't you take up knitting? Well, all right then, I will take up knitting.
She knitted sweater after sweater. Knitting became an obsession with Nell.
A present for you, Dudley.
Not another sweater, Nell.
How did you ever guess? One for you and one for Father.
You've got to stop this knitting once and for all, Nell. You've knitted sweaters for every man on the post, and this makes the 8th sweater you've knitted for me. And I just don't know how many you've knitted for Dudley.
Yes, Nell, it's so beastly hot for sweaters.
trees.
Well, perhaps I had better go someplace where my knitting is appreciated.
And so Nell took her needles and went out into the world. A short time later, as Snidely Whiplash was skulking through the woods.
Isn't it rather hot for all those trees and animals to be wearing sweaters?
Maybe sweaters are in this summer.
Uh-oh. Say, you certainly are a crackerjack knitter.
Do you really think so? I mean, you're not just saying that.
Well, I've seen some knitters in my time, but nothing could beat you. I mean, who else knits sweaters for trees? Right, Homer?
And terminals, too.
But I would like to really knit a masterpiece, something on a grander scale than sweaters.
How about a suit? A knitted Snidely suit. Little does she know that I have in my possession some bulletproof wool. And once it is knitted, I will be protected from Mountie bullets.
I would love to. Would you sit for me?
How's this pose?
Wonderful.
Meanwhile, back at the post.
Dudley, perhaps I was a little too harsh on Nell with this infernal heat. I guess all our tempers have been on edge. Go out and bring her back, my boy. Only break those confounded knitting needles before you do.
How does it look, Homer?
It looks fine, Snidely, and here's your chance to test it. Here comes Dudley Do-Right of the Mounties.
Nell, I found you. But what are you doing with Snidely Whiplash?
Homer, is that Dudley Do-Right or the lower part of a totem pole?
It must be Do-Right because it talks.
The Dudley Do-Right, the most cowardly yellow chicken-livered critter in the Canadian Mounties.
I heard that, Whiplash. You've pushed your luck too far this time.
It works. Ha, ha, ha. I'm wearing my bulletproof Snidely suit. Now you Mounties can't hurt me, and there's nothing you can do about it. Ha, 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 ha.
And so I knitted him this beautiful suit, and it turned out that I was using bulletproof yarn.
Is that all?
No, it was a cable stitch and had wonderful dolman sleeves.
And he said I looked like the bottom part of a totem pole.
Never mind that. Do you have any idea how I'm going to explain that to the commander?
Father, I don't have a way of explaining to the commander, but I do have a way of getting rid of the bulletproof Snidely suit.
Oh, please, Mr. Whip Smash.
That's Whiplash.
Please don't foreclose the mortgage.
Yes, don't foreclose the mortgage, or I'll foreclose your suit.
Nonsense. You know my suit is invincible.
Not against moths.
My suit! My beautiful Snidely suit! Oh, I'm undone.
Father, I did it. I got rid of the bulletproof Snidely suit. Now you can bring him in.
No, we can't, Nell.
But why not, Father? He's no longer invincible.
Well, while you were gone, we had an invasion of moths. They ate every uniform on the post.
Well, it's back to the old knitting needles.
Oh, no.
Last time, you remember, Rocky deduced from certain tracks on the beach of New Greenpernt that the fortune-telling Ogle had been bird-napped.
And it looks like 2 sets of Ogle tracks.
Out of the question, kid. There's only one Ogle bird in the whole world.
Then how come this other set of tracks?
Beats me.
Yo, it's a real enigma.
A what, Bullwinkle?
An enigma.
What's that mean?
I don't know. I just made it up.
But at that very moment, on a lonely island miles away, the Ogle was being held captive by none other than your fiend and my fiend, Boris Badenov.
But, darling, how did you coax Ogle Bird away from island?
Was easy, Natasha.
And Boris explained just how he had birdnapped the Greenpernt Ogle. A short time ago, passing himself off as past president of the Lompoc Birdwatcher Society, he had gained access to the Ogle Bird's nest at the top of Mount Pitkin. But as he neared the nest, he underwent a surprising transformation.
Allow me to introduce myself, my dear lady. Charles Bullwinkle, star of stage, screen, and television. Let me take you away from this cold mountain top. Come with me to my nest in the Casbah. Come, fly with me, moi petit oiseau. Well, maybe we better walk in state. Like you say, kiddo. Ogle, 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 ogle.
And so, blinded by infatuation, the Ogle Bird had willingly eloped with the disguised Boris. Once on his deserted island, though, things were different.
Okay, sweetheart. Honeymoon is over. Let's get to work.
Never mind the baby talk. Lay an egg.
And Boris began to use the poor Oglebird for his own nefarious purposes.
And now for 64 grains of corn. What rich man will be away from his house at midnight tonight? Get message, Natasha.
Here it is, darling. Although against my will I picked him, Claude the Peister is your victim.
So that night, many miles away, Boris paid a secret call on a large mansion. Next day, the headlines blared the shocking news of an enormous jewel robbery at the De Peister residence.
100,000. Natasha, at last we really got it made.
And Boris's next question to the Oglebird was even more sinister.
Hey, short and ugly, what will be easiest bank to break into tonight?
And of course, the Oglebird had to answer.
The bank's address, you dirty cheat, is 1820 Flugel Street.
Sure enough, that night, Boris did break into a small bank at 1820 Flugel Street.
16 pennies and 2 buttons, darling. Not so good.
Natasha, it's not the amount. It's just being able to do a little something bad each day.
But Boris received a severe jolt when the bird's next prediction read...
The Oglebird says, happy day. Rocky Squirrel is on the way.
Oh, shut up, you beak.
Sure enough, a speedy boat bearing our heroes and King Bushwick were headed right toward Boris's hideout.
Are you sure this is the place?
Sure. Look, it's the only island around here with a mountain high enough for an Oglebird to live on.
Good thinking, Jack.
Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky.
But it looked as if their approach wouldn't go unchallenged, for Boris had trained a number of large guns on them, and as their boat reached the crest of a wave, Boris fired. Fortunately, as the shells sped on their way, our heroes slid into the trough of the wave, and the shells passed overhead harmlessly.
Boy, look at that, Rock.
You know, I don't think we're exactly welcome on this island.
Well, that is the understatement of the year. Oh, what crooked thing does Boris have up his sleeve now?
My elbow, what else?
Be with us next time for the Sandblasters or Big Bang on the Beach.
Well, it looks as if our time has just about run out.
Mine must be a little slow.
You got the credits, Bullwinkle?
All on this itty-bitty card. Oop.
We're late again, Bullwinkle.
Right.
Bye now. See you next time.